Hello, I'm really nervous. Um, I've worked in care for 19 years now. I work for a company called Midland Heart. I left school at 16 with a handful of GCSEs. I knew I wanted to work with people but wasn't sure doing what. So I went to college and did a year's diploma in social care, and then I did a 2-year national diploma. After leaving college, I took the first job that came along, which was in a nursery working with 2-year-olds. It wasn't the job for me. By chance, I knocked the door of a residential home around the corner from where I lived, and I inquired about vacancies and was given an application form. I had no job, and the process was going to take two weeks or more. So I offered to go in as a volunteer to get some experience. I'd never worked with disabled people before in my life. Back then, there wasn't criminal record checks, so it was quite easy. I must admit, I was terrified to begin with. It was so different to what I'd ever done before. You weren't helped by other staff in them days. You were expected to take people straight out on your own, give out medication, do personal care. So basically, you get thrown in at the deep end. But 19 years on, I'm still doing it, so I must have done something right. Don't worry, nowadays it's much different. Staff are trained. My staff don't work with anyone on their own for weeks and weeks. They have a full induction. So I started out as a care assistant, that's what we were called back then, and looked after 6 people, all with very different needs and behaviours. Got to say, my nerves did disappear, and I got used to each person as an individual, and I love the job. I can't imagine doing anything different now. After a few years as a care assistant, I was promoted to deputy, and then after being an acting manager a few times, I got the permanent role of a manager. And that's what I'm doing at the minute. Care can be challenging and it can be really hard work, but it's also really good fun and really rewarding. There's a lot of training to go with the job, but it's all job related. So once you're in the job, it becomes second nature. The people I look after have learning disabilities. Some have physical disabilities. Some of my customers live most of their lives in what in the olden days were mental institutions and hospitals. Thankfully, that's not the norm now. Some of the training I've done has been around what these places were like and how people used to live, and it really is heartbreaking, really. The most important part of my job and for my staff team is to ensure that each and every day is wonderful and full of happiness and love for every person we look after, and filled with opportunities and nice things which we might take for granted, but for the people we look after, the smallest gestures can mean the whole world. A smile, telling someone that they look lovely, can really make their day. I want to share a story which for me, in the 19 years, has been the thing I'm most proud of. I looked after a man called Jeffrey. He was a man in his late 50s when I first met him. He had Down syndrome, but he could do a lot for himself. He dressed himself, bathed himself, used to go to church on his own. Every Sunday he'd come down, show you a handful of pennies that he was taking to church. He used to bring them all back with him, but when he was in his 60s, little things weren't right. He weren't filling the bath properly. He'd wear a pyjama top over his day clothes. And eventually, he was diagnosed with dementia. The home I ran back then had upstairs and downstairs, and Jeffrey was in an upstairs bedroom. And dementia, as some of you might know, attacks all your body eventually. So we knew that if Jeffrey's condition deteriorated, he would have to move. So I fought with everybody to have the garage converted into a downstairs bedroom so that he could stay with us. and eventually I won. Jeffrey stayed with us, the people that loved him, till he sadly passed away in 2011. Jeff had a cat called Holly, and as his dementia progressed, he used to call the cat Kiki because his speech was quite limited. And whenever I saw him, he used to stroke my hair and say, "Ah, Kiki, Kiki." I think he thought I was the cat. Jeffrey did celebrate his 70th birthday with us, which was a real achievement for someone with Downs and advanced dementia. I take comfort in the fact that Jeffrey was so happy and did enjoy his life to the full. I was privileged enough to support him on holidays abroad, disco dancing, karaoke, everything. I would recommend a job in care to anyone. The people you care for become more than just a job. They actually become your family. Each and every person that I work with is special and unique, and every day is different. I can't imagine doing anything else. I'm not sure that anything else would make me feel at the end of the day that I'd really made a difference.